Hey, and welcome to the Life in a Bookshelf podcast with Beck Mills. Here you will find convos about well-being, about home, and a bunch of book love as well. We chat all things from health hacks to simplifying our home, to decluttering, to mini book reviews for you as well. Let's take this 30-something life head on and start creating a really positive impact in our own lives, in our families, and out into our wider communities. So glad that you're here. Let's jump on in.
G'day. Today's thought of the day is scary shit and life lessons. Hooray. So today I am super glad that you are joining me in your ears. And I want to talk about some scary stuff that I ended up doing last year in 2024, and that I got a lot out of the experiences and learned some really cool life lessons. Maybe they cemented these life lessons a little bit more as well, and my belief in them. So, first things first, though, I wanted you to come on over to Instagram to the podcast account and send me a message and let me know what scary thing did you do last year, and what was something that you took away from the experience. I would love to hear it. So, diving right on in. Um, First things first. Well, second things second. Maybe we should say that scary is defined differently. Oh my goodness! I think I need another coffee. Scary is defined differently by all of us, because we all have our own sort of experience with it, right? And the scary that I'm talking about today is possibly you had done something for the first time. You did something that you never thought you would do. You found yourself in a situation where you maybe had to do something. Not talking life threatening, even though sometimes these things can feel quite confronting. And obviously not talking violent either. So yeah, something that you did for the first time, something you thought you'd never in your wildest dreams thought you would do. Um, yeah, something that really took you out of your comfort zone. So that's the kind of scary we're talking about, just for a little bit of context. Let me know over on the Instagram page what's something scary that you did last year. And also, if you've got something scary that you're planning to do this year or this month or today, I would love to hear it. So this being in our little mini series, bit like the thought of the day, easing into the new year, what that's going to bring. We're reflecting a little bit on last year to help us move forward into this new 2025. So yeah, today we're talking about scary shit and life lessons. So also, if you have little ones, you might want to turn down the volume because I'll be saying that word quite a bit. Or put your AirPods in or something. Just a quick shout out if you are walking, if you are running, if you are driving somewhere in the car. Shout out to you. I love that we can connect on here like this, and it doesn't escape me how big a deal that is that you've taken the time and that you see some value in these conversations. So thanks for being here. I love that you're here. So, okay, what's some scary stuff you did last year? So, one of the first scary things I did, and it was in February, I believe it was the start of February 24, that I started considering whether maybe this might be the year that I do a marathon, that I run and complete a marathon. And okay, backing up a little bit, I used to be a very reluctant runner and only run for the sport that I was doing. And even then it was quite minimal. It was kind of just because otherwise I'd not die out on there caught, but it would feel very uncomfortable. So in February I started thinking maybe I could do this, and I'd already started a bit of running and I was feeling pretty good and like a bit more consistently. And the seed was kind of planted, and I was like, what if I just start a training plan and just see how it goes, and then if it feels okay, I might sign up for one. This all was in the year, so last year I turned 35, and I don't know, something kind of clicked last year. I was kind of like, what am I like waiting around for? Like, I'm only going to get older. So it's probably going to feel a little bit harder every year. And many, many years before, as a physiotherapy student, when I was at university, we always used to go down to the Bustleton Ironman every year, and we used to volunteer and do the massage tent and all that. And I was just always left there just buzzing, like so excited. I just really love being in the crowd and cheering people on and seeing the people come in last. And it's just still to this day, it's very visceral, like I can feel it. And obviously the marathon being the last part of an Ironman, I think the seed was planted then. So like way back in like 2008, I think was the first year I started uni. Yeah, 2008. Yeah, so it's been a while. Anyway, so I was like, I'll start this training plan. I'll just see how I go. And I was just using the free Nike app, the Nike Run Club, NRC. Anyway, so I have this training plan. And yeah, had some great thuds around that sort of were encouraging and were like, yeah, sure, go for it. I'm doing this one. Da, da, da. So I ended up signing up in February. And that was the first scary thing I did, because I remember being on the page ready to click the button to sign up and being like, what if this is all for naught? Like, what if I don't even get to the start line? And then I was like, oh God. And then I was like, how am I going to get there? Oh yeah, ferry. Is the ferry going to get there in time? Blah, 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 blah. All of these emotions started coming up, and I was kind of like, this is probably why people put stuff off, is because they just start doubting themselves, and they start doubting if they can actually do this thing, whether it's an event or starting a new routine or whatever. And, sometimes it kind of just feels all too hard. Like, why am I putting all this pressure on? So that was the first scary thing I did. I was like, okay, it's happening. And I was kind of like, I'm turning 35. I need to do this. And that's just where it began. And I think that was the start of it, to be honest, last year. And then, yeah, started obviously training for that. And then, yeah, went and did the Rottnest Marathon in June and completed it, which in itself, I was just like, couldn't imagine doing that, like, for years and years and years, like actually doing it. So then I got to the end and I was like, oh, crap, there you go. Um, the Talking about scary stuff, doing that marathon in itself, like, that was, I think, the naivety, like, I was just naive going into it and just ran it and then got to the end and I was like, holy moly, that was awesome. Even though I was hurting, obviously. When I think the biggest lesson I learned from doing that first marathon, and it might not be what you think, and I was thinking, what was the biggest lesson? And it's not the most obvious one, but I feel like this is the most powerful. And it was when you're hurting, or when you're like you're really uncomfortable, when you're hurting, or even when you're like grieving over something. But yeah, when you're really in your head and really focused in on you and how much it hurts or whatever, actually opening yourself back up to life and like looking around you and spotting others that you can encourage, that you can help in some small way, that you can give a high five to, that you can give a smile to, that you can lift someone's spirits when you're in that pain, like when you're in that and you're hurting. That is so powerful when you're in that, and then you can encourage someone or help or lift their spirits. Like, that was, as a life lesson, that was just game changing, because as soon as I started doing that, the focus is off of me and the focus is off my calves and it's off my quads and it's off my whatever I was feeling. There's a lot of things. But it just made me feel so much more positive that I could do it and get through it. and like while I was helping others, and while I was, I was running with a lady that I met, and actually she's a friend now, and we actually did about the last half of the marathon together, and she was hurting, and I was like, "You got this, you've trained for this," and we just talked to each other, and then I was in a hard spot, and she would lift me up and encourage me, and that was just so, so powerful, to pull yourself out of that hurt, out of that uncomfortable pain, I guess, and like you could look at it in any area of life. If you can just give someone a little smile, like how much that would mean if someone was having a bad day. Also, they might be having a really bad day too, and like how much that can lift someone. So that was number one for scary shit and the first life lesson. The second was, I said this was a mini series, okay? I'll try and keep it brief. The second was, no, it might have been even before the marathon. So the town that I play in, the hockey club, they were a bit short on numbers. So I've always been a netball player. Never, ever, 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 ever played hockey in my entire life. Field hockey. Always gave me this like anxious feeling thinking of running around with a stick and a ball like flying at you and a stick going wayward and smacking someone unintentionally in the head, obviously accidentally, and just being so distraught about it. Like these are the things that would come to my head when I thought of hockey, even though I'd watched my friends play it, even though like it was fun to watch. Like I just thought the thought of me doing it was not in my head. Anyway, they asked if I wanted to fill in, and it was like the day before, so obviously I didn't have any gear, didn't even have a mouth guard, and I started feeling that anxiousness rising, rising, rising. Like, do I want to do this? Actually, I don't want to unintentionally hurt someone, was a big fear of mine. I was like, are you sure I'm the right person that you messaged? Are you sure it wasn't someone else? And yeah, all of these anxious feelings come up, and I was like, oh, like they obviously needed the numbers, and I was like, I'll be there, but like, don't put me on. Okay. Anyway, so that got me through it. They're like, yeah, no worries. And I was like, okay. And yeah, we'll lend you all the gear, so no stress. I was like, okay. So that was very scary saying yes to that. And then actually being there before the game, I hadn't felt that visceral, like, I don't know, like it was adrenaline for sure that I was feeling. And obviously anxiousness, like, are they actually gonna put me on? And I was like shaking, like my hands were shaking. I could just feel the adrenaline like coursing through me. And I remember some of the younger kids are around and like watching us all up and stuff. And I must have been talking about something and they said something, and I said, well, this is what it's like being a 35-year-old and trying something scary and new for the first time. And they were like, oh, and that kind of broke the tension a little bit. So it was funny. They thought that was funny. Um, and then, so what was the life lesson in all of this, right? Because I did get some game time, and I ended up playing hockey for the rest of the season, and I'm really, really like loving the challenge of learning. Gosh, I've still got so much to learn, but like learning the skills. And as a complete beginner as well, like that was scary, like getting out there and like, I don't want to stuff up. I don't want to like let the team down. I don't want to hurt you. Like, anyway, and then getting out there and doing it. The biggest life lesson that I learned, and again, it might not be what you think. It wasn't what I thought would be the biggest life lesson, besides like, we can do hard things. It was gratitude. Again, like that reminder to like, I am so grateful that my body and my mind and where I live, like that experience, to be able to experience that experience, even though I was scared, even though I was worried and anxious and a complete beginner, no idea, for me to be able to experience that, so, so, so grateful. Like a working body, a healthy body, Yeah, I think that fear in that moment was somewhat healthy because of the unknown and the uncertainty, but, like, just grateful that I was able to have this space and the time to be able to go out there and experience it and actually find something that I really loved and enjoy learning more about, was a really big life lesson, and it was a really like, it hit me really hard afterwards, and I was like, "Oh, shit," like, even though it was, yeah, scary at the time, very, 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 very grateful for that. Uh, cool. So, again, let me know what scary thing you did last year or things, maybe something that you've got on the books this year that you are going after. The third one was not that scary, to be honest, but it was a big thing. Like, it was so after I completed the marathon in June, I had a friend and they were like, "Yeah, yeah, make sure you come and do the October marathon," and I was like, "Oh, okay." It was in, like, a wait list, so I was like, "I'll just wait and see whether, I can get in or not." And at the time, I was, like, feeling pretty invincible. I was like, "Yeah, I got this. I could do that again." Anyway, turns out that one was a lot harder, but it was still, having that it was scary in that I'm like, "I'm gonna do that again." But after I did it, yeah, like I said, completely different and definitely a lot harder the second time for me. The other life lesson, okay, this one's a bit as an aside. Um, Something I learned from doing scary shit is that people are going to sometimes, depending on their lived experience, right? They're gonna think you're crazy. Just saying it as is. Like, depending on your life experience, their life experience, what they're used to, what you're used to, will define what's scary or not, and what's crazy or not. And I heard that word a lot last year. And it bugged me, like, at first, and then I was like, "Oh, what, like, it's just different experiences that we've been through, right?" Um, but then I kept hearing it again and again and again, and I was like, "Well, I don't feel like it's crazy," but obviously, yeah, like, there's things that people do, and I'm like, "Oh, man, that's crazy." So, it just goes all around. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that I came across a saying and I wanted to share it today because if you're going after a big goal or you want to do something scary that's completely new to you, completely out of your comfort zone, if something makes you happy, it does not have to make sense to anyone else. If something makes you happy, it does not have to make sense to anyone else. And obviously, there are situations where that can be quite unhealthy. But we're talking about the healthier types of things that make us happy. Um, in saying that, like, you've got a big goal, it doesn't have to make sense. People will call you crazy. And there's an author, Jamie Kern Lima, and she's the IT Cosmetics. She used to have that brand. Anyway, in her book, oh, what's it called? I'll find it. She says, "You're not crazy, you're just first." And obviously not the first to do that thing, but maybe you're the first one to wanna go after something like that in your family or your friends group or whatever it is, your community, your town, your team, your state, whatever it is. And I thought that was really powerful. Like, you're not crazy, you're just first. And it's funny what happens when you complete that thing or you do that thing or you achieve that thing. All of a sudden it becomes more of this normal thing. and and that was a big sort of life lesson as an aside is if something makes you happy, it doesn't have to make sense to anyone else and you're not crazy, you're just first. So keep that in mind if you've got a big goal that you're going after, that I'm cheering for you. And sometimes it doesn't always feel like you have a lot of support when maybe you're going after something big and challenging and for the first time. Or maybe you're the first family member that's done it or whatever it is. one more for you, and then I'm going to wrap this up. And that is in December, so only just over a month ago, I started looking ahead and I was like, I wonder what sort of races are out there for the year, like run events. And there was this one that I came across, and I don't even know, I think it was an email. It wasn't even on like a main site that I would look at these events. And this one event caught my eye, and it was completely different to things that I'd seen so far, like road races. And I was like, what is this thing? And it looked really cool. And it ends up, so it's a trail race, a trail event. And it's a 50K, and it starts in the afternoon and goes into the night. So like night and day, exactly night and day, but like apart from the ones that I'd done before and what I knew was kind of out there. And I was like, wow, okay, that sounds cool. And then I was like, oh, it's in the middle of February. Fun. I was like, okay. So I just put it on the back burner, and I was kind of looking at all these other ones, and I was like, we'll see how I go. Anyway, this one kept coming up, and it came up. Here we go. Here's the metaverse. Came up on my Facebook, came up on my Instagram, and I like started seeing more about it, and I started reading more about it and people's experiences. And I thought, oh, how cool would it be to experience something like that? That's completely new and different, scary as all everything. And I was trying to imagine, like at the time I was trying to imagine myself doing it. And I couldn't even really imagine it. And maybe you've had a goal like that too, where you've like, oh, I'd really love to do this, that, or the other. But you start thinking about it and you're like, oh, I'm not sure I can actually see myself doing it. Like, I don't know if I'm strong enough. I don't know if I'm fit enough. I don't know if I'm smart enough, whatever it is. And you start to talk yourself a little bit out of it. I don't know. If you've had that experience, let me know. Anyway, I was like, right, well, after I'd had a bit of a rest from the last marathon, I was like, all right, I'm just going to get back into the regular routine. And I started getting curious, and I started looking up like 50K training plans and all this stuff. And I was like, okay, do I really want to be training and heat training and that all like over the summer and over like Christmas, New Year, January, like school holidays? And I was like, so I was just completely like thinking and overthinking and over analyzing all this stuff. Like, oh my gosh, how's it going to work? Like running in the night. Oh my gosh, how's it going to work? Like a weekend in Perth. Like, how am I going to get there and get back to the hotel? How am I going to check in before the race starts? Like, I won't be able to check in and and it just like spirals. And I'm sure you've had this experience. I've had this many times. Maybe you haven't. And that's awesome. But yeah, this is quite a common thing. And I start spiraling, and I start thinking, but I won't be able to do that. And what if I can't do that? And what about this? Like, I don't know if I'm going to have the help to do this. And yeah. And then it just keeps going. And then I got to a point and I was like, And so I was like, maybe I'll just do what I did before the first marathon. I'll just start training and start just seeing how it feels and seeing how the body feels. And then I'll make a decision. I feel like this is a little bit of a pattern. Anyway, so yeah, started doing that, and also chatting to a few friends and kind of let them know, like, "Oh, I'm thinking about doing this, but this, that, and the other." Be like quite negative. And a couple of my mates were like really positive about it, and I was like, "Huh, I could look at it in that light." So I started looking at it a bit more positively about the new experience and all of that. This is the stage before I started getting really worried, anxious about it. Anyway, and yeah, I was chatting to a friend and I was like, right, today's the day. I'm going to decide today. And one of my friends said, why don't you just sign up for it and then you'll figure it out? like all the logistics stuff. You'll figure it out. And I was like, oh, I don't know if it works like this because of this, that, and the other. And I was giving myself so many excuses. Oh my gosh. Like, I was being so negative and I had all the excuses in the book as to why this event couldn't work. And that I started realizing what I was saying out loud, as well as obviously what I was thinking, overthinking. And it really, it shocked me. And I look back now and I'm like, there's so much self-doubt there. There's so much self-doubt. And I was like, why? Why am I doubting myself so much? And you know what happened? I went home and I signed up. And you know what? I figured the stuff out. All the logistics I figured out now. Well, you know, as many as I possibly can for the situation. And I'm going to go do it. So that's in about, what's it today? So that's in 9 days' time. And I was feeling quite anxious last week, but now I'm feeling like pretty good. Like I'm ready for whatever comes. I'm ready for the experience. I'm like, I don't have any time pressures or anything on myself. And that's kind of how I wanted it. And the biggest life lesson that I learned there is, there was many, obviously, but I think that we are strong enough to figure it out. We figure stuff out every single day. And if we let all those doubts just like get in the way of us experiencing something new or going after a big goal, they're not going to happen. And we can talk about it till the cows go home and we can try and figure it out till the cows come home. But there's something magical that happens when we commit to something. And we're like, right, it's time to figure it out. Let's go. And it's like all of a sudden your brain just like opens up again and like, yeah, that's a big, big life lesson. So I'm taking that well into 2025 with me and dropping so much of the overanalyzing. So that's it for today. I would absolutely love to hear, like I said before, if you have done something really scary that you didn't think you would be able to do or didn't think you would ever do. Or something that was really out of your comfort zone. Let me know what it was. Or you might have something on the plans for this brand new year. Let me know that too. And I will talk to you really soon. Have a good one.
So that's it for today. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed today's episode, go ahead, hit that follow button wherever you listen to your podcast. And I would super, super duper appreciate it if you leave a 5-star rating on Spotify. What this does is it helps others like yourself to discover the podcast more easily and enjoy the episodes. I appreciate it so, so much. Have a wonderful day. You absolutely deserve it. We'll see you next time.